Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump straight into this. If you're studying electrical tech, you probably already know that direct current is, pretty straightforward. It literally just flows straight ahead. But alternating current? Oh man, AC is an entirely different beast. It's this constantly shifting wave that flips back and forth. But here's the secret. Actually, scratch that. It's not a secret. It's just brilliant engineering. Today, we're going to see how we tame this wave using some seriously cool mathematical tools and physical components. We're going to break down exactly how these waves interact, race against each other, and ultimately power our modern world.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the AC wave race. Second, resistors, inductors, and capacitors. Third, RLC circuits. Fourth, power and power factor. And finally, three-phase basics. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The AC wave race.
So to really get AC, you got to think of alternating electrical quantities not just as boring lines on a graph, but as runners in a never-ending race. And to judge this race, we need to nail down exactly what a phase is. Phase is simply the fraction of the time period of an alternating current that has elapsed since it last passed through the zero position. Imagine you've got a stopwatch, right? And it clicks every single time the wave crosses that zero line. That elapsed time, which we usually measure in degrees or radians, tells us exactly where we are on the wave's cycle. It is absolutely crucial because it grounds everything else we're going to talk about today.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we actually create these different phases? Well, picture three separate single-turn coils, let's call them A, B, and C, rotating in a magnetic field. Because they're physically displaced from each other by specific angles, alpha and beta, their electrical waves do not reach their maximums at the exact same time. Coil A hits its peak first, then B hits its peak a little bit later at an angle of beta, and then C finally hits its peak. This physical, real-world displacement creates what we call a phase difference.
So the big question is, how do we describe who's actually winning this race? We use two key terms, leading and lagging. A leading alternating quantity reaches its maximum or its zero value earlier. It's ahead of the pack. We denote this mathematically with a plus sign. A lagging quantity, on the flip side, trails behind and reaches its peak later, which we mark with a minus sign. It's a continuous race, and tracking who is leading and who is lagging is literally the key to all AC circuit analysis.
Part 2. Resistors, inductors, and capacitors.
Now that we've got the wave race down, let's look at the physical circuit components that actually mess with these waves. You might want to mentally bookmark this because it beautifully summarizes the three fundamental building blocks of any AC circuit. First up, a pure resistor, or R. With a resistor, voltage and current are perfectly in phase. They run side by side, totally in sync, and the power is never zero or negative. Next is the pure inductor, L. An inductor is kind of like an electrical heavyweight. It actually makes the current lag behind the voltage by exactly 90 degrees. And get this, the average power demand is actually zero. Finally, the pure capacitor, C. This one acts like a slingshot, making the current lead the voltage by 90 degrees, also with a net zero average power demand.
Let's zoom in on that pure capacitor for a second. If you track the current curve, you'll see it crosses the zero line and hits its peak a full 90 degrees, or a quarter of a cycle, before the voltage wave does. Mathematically, we write this as the current equals I max times the sine of omega t, plus pi over 2. The capacitor basically pushes the current ahead of the voltage in our wave race.
Part 3. Combining forces, RLC circuits.
So what happens when we start combining these things? We know how they behave on their own, but what happens when we wire a resistor, an inductor, and a capacitor all together in a single series circuit? The resistor wants everyone to be in phase. The inductor is fighting hard to make the current lag, and the capacitor? It's fighting to make it lead. It sounds like a complete tug of war, right? Pure chaos.
But hey, engineers don't do chaos. We do vector math. In a series circuit, the current is exactly the same everywhere, but the voltage drops across the resistor, inductor, and capacitor. Those are all totally out of phase. The voltage across the resistor sits perfectly horizontal. The voltage for the inductor points straight up, and the capacitor's voltage points straight down. By simply subtracting the capacitor's vector from the inductor's vector, we can find the net reactive drop. It's brilliant.
To figure out exactly how much this combined circuit is slowing down our current, we calculate a little something called impedance, which we represent with the letter Z. Think of impedance as the ultimate AC speed bump. It's just 3 quick steps. First, you find the net reactance by subtracting capacitive reactance from inductive reactance. Second, you square that number and add it to the square of the resistance. And third, just take the square root of that whole shebang to find your total impedance. And to put some hard math to it, the formula is z squared equals r squared plus xl minus xc squared. The absolutely critical takeaway here is this. If XL is bigger, the whole circuit acts inductively, and the current lags. But if XC is bigger, the circuit acts capacitively, and the current leads. So the math perfectly dictates the winner of our phase race.
Part 4. Power and Power Factor.
Understanding the race is super cool, but in the real world, we care about doing actual work. You know, lighting up cities, running huge motors, and that requires power. Which brings us to arguably one of the most important concepts in all of electrical engineering, the power factor. Power factor is simply the cosine of the phase angle between voltage and current. In math terms, it's the ratio of resistance to total impedance, or R over Z. So why does this matter? Well, it tells us exactly how effectively our circuit is using the power we're feeding it.
To really grasp why efficiency can drop, look at the power wave in a purely capacitive circuit. Because the voltage and current are 90 degrees out of phase, their product, which is the power, creates this wave that just oscillates evenly between positive and negative. The areas above the line completely cancel out the ones below the line, meaning the average power demand from the supply is exactly zero. The energy is literally just bouncing back and forth between the source and the capacitor without doing any real useful work.
Because of that bouncing effect, we have to split AC power into different categories. Apparent power, which is just voltage times current, is the total power the grid actually has to supply. But the active power, the part that actually spins a motor or heats your room, that's V times I times the power factor, or cosine phi. The current itself is split up too. You've got the active component, I cosine phi, which does the heavy lifting, and then you have the reactive component, I sine phi, which is just that energy bouncing harmlessly, but very inefficiently, back and forth.
Part 5. Scaling Up. 3-phase basics.
So how do we scale all of this up? We've been looking at single waves, but modern industry definitely does not run on single-phase AC. It runs on three-phase power. The absolute genius of this system is that we take three similar coils and place them exactly 120 electrical degrees apart inside a generator. This creates three distinct voltage waves, all 120 degrees out of phase with one another. Now, to handle the complex math of these three waves, engineers use something called the operator A. Just like multiplying by a negative sign flips a number 180 degrees, multiplying a vector by the operator A rotates it counterclockwise by exactly 120 degrees. Multiplied by A squared, it rotates 240 degrees. This keeps the math incredibly neat and allows for a super smooth continuous power delivery system compared to just one choppy single wave.
And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. But before we wrap, I want to leave you with this one thought. We've just seen how a tiny phase difference, like a slight lag or lead, can drop a single circuit's active power straight to zero. So, if phase differences can drastically alter power on a small scale, how on earth do engineers manage millions of overlapping inductive and capacitive relationships across an entire city's power grid without the whole system just collapsing? It is a massive, incredibly complex balancing act. But understanding the fundamentals we covered today, that is your very first step to solving it. Thanks for learning with the explainer today, and keep riding the wave.